Hey everyone, it is Brian Strigler here, and I decided I would hop on here and bring up apparently a controversial topic. So I was in Little Rock, Arkansas this last weekend for a bridal show. Ran into all types of people, had a great time. I just remember this one interaction I had. So I don't remember how the conversation got started, but I was sitting there talking to this bride, and her mom's there beside us. And I honestly, like I said, I don't remember how the conversation got brought up, but I was giving her tips or whatever. And I was like, so are you going to do a first look? And she was like, yes. And the mom was like, no. And I mean, it was intense. Like this mom and this bride daughter were going back and forth. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm not getting in the middle of this. And like, I mean, it got a little heated, and the girl's like, "I want to do it," and the mom's like, "Nuh-uh, I'm paying for this wedding," and it was just, it was interesting. It was interesting to see how heated that conversation got so quickly, and yeah. So anyway, I asked this question on the little group page there. And as you can see on my screen, within like a minute or two, we already had a strong opinion. What is it? Four, a 4-0. No. So people have opinions about this stuff. I swing a little bit one way, but I'm gonna try to keep my opinion to myself. I am just going to give you the information, and we'll see what people think. And in the end, it's always your decision. All right, I'm gonna see if I can get this going. All right, using this new software, it always takes me a minute to figure out like what am I doing. All right, so I need to make where I can see everything. View. How about new 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 new? This is something I probably should know pretty quickly, but I'm tired. And present. Maybe that's going to work. There we go. All right, sweet. So I should be in the little corner. You can still see my face, and I'm going to go through this. Okay, so this is a topic you're probably going to have to decide at some point. Do I go with a first look, or do I go with the traditional route? So the first question is, what is a first look? Because not everyone knows this, and I've had people, I say that, and then people are like, what are you talking about? So not everyone is like fully dedicated to the wedding world. Not everyone has been around a lot of weddings, so I have to explain what this is, because you may have no idea. So a first look is a controlled experience where the bride and the groom see each other for the first time. And I say controlled, that means it's not like a random event. It's set up and it's orchestrated, and usually the photographer has a say in it and kind of puts people in the place where they want this to happen. And this happens before the ceremony. So that's the big difference between, well, one of the big differences between the traditional route and the first look is this is happening before the ceremony, where a traditional route would be the first time he sees her that day is when she's walking down the aisle with her father. Okay. In general, it's not a big group of people watching. It might just be me and the couple, or it might be me plus all the bridesmaids and maybe mom or dad or something like that. But in general, that's kind of what this is. So I'm sorry, I'm reading a response from our no. She just really believes that that first moment, it is a special moment, and that it should be that special moment should happen when she's walking down the aisle, which is a very valid point, and we'll get to all that in a few minutes. Alrighty then, let's move on. All right, so we're going to start with the first look. Reasons why you might want to do this. I don't know if saving time is naturally, it's better use of time maybe, or just a different way to use your time. So if you do a first look, you can knock out almost all of your photos before the ceremony. So You can do all of your girl photos, all your guy photos, all of your couple photos, all of your wedding party photos. You can get all that stuff done before the ceremony even happens. Now, if you do it the traditional way, that can't happen because you can't see each other. So you can't do the couple photos, you can't do the wedding party photos because you can't see each other, which means you are left doing that after the ceremony. So the big issue that people run into here is that takes time. And you have 100, 200, 300 guests sitting in a reception hall waiting for you guys to show up, and the photos may take an hour and a half to 2 hours to knock out. And so they're just sitting there waiting for you. So if you do a first look, that doesn't necessarily happen. If you do a first look, they may be waiting for like maximum an hour, maybe. Sometimes it's only 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So that wait time for your guests is cut down drastically. Okay, another reason for a first look is it's much more controlled. So when I do a first look, I talk to the couple, I figure out where I'm going to put them, and I tell them exactly what's going to happen, and I make it happen. So during a wedding ceremony, all types of stuff may happen to screw up some of these photos. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have people jumping out in the aisle with their stupid cell phones and getting in the way. The lighting situation may not be perfect, so the lighting may really suck. There's a few places I know where like the groom gets blasted in the face with sunlight, and so they're gonna look really funky. They may have to squint. I don't know. So I don't have that control in a traditional situation. It also is a kind of a quick way to get rid of some of that stress. I've only had one bride do this, but one bride was so stressed out that she like popped a Valium before walking down the aisle. I mean, that's pretty stressed out, and not everyone is that way. But some people just get really stressed out about this moment, and if they do the first look beforehand, then they're not as stressed out, and the ceremony, they're not going to be freaking out, and it's going to be just kind of a smoother thing. Also, if they get that cry over with early, they're probably not going to be walking down the aisle crying and having extremely ugly faces, which sometimes happen if there's a lot of emotion. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I mean, most brides would like to look smiley and pretty versus something like that, you know. It is also a more private moment, and for guys especially, guys, we're dumb. We don't like showing emotion. We especially don't like showing emotion in front of a few hundred people. So most guys, not all guys, but most guys are going to stonewall if it's the traditional route. That means they're just going to sit there and they're going to try and hide it as much as possible. And you're not going to get that emotion. I've seen a lot of guys break down crying, though, with a first look because it's more private. It's just like me. Okay, there's not 100 people watching them. And so, you know, it's just not as much, I don't know, not as much of a risk for them to get emotional and open up. The other thing, and this happens, I actually had to deal with this a lot the past December. If you do a first look, sometimes that means you have access to the good light. So in the winter weddings, man, it gets dark early. I mean, you're talking about getting dark at 4:30. So unless you're having a ceremony at like 1 in the afternoon, when that ceremony's over, if you're doing the traditional route, there may not be any light left. The last wedding I did, January 4th, we did not do a single, well, I lie, we did one photo of the couple outside, and it was a challenge because the light was already gone. So they went the traditional route. They didn't see each other, so the only portraits I could get of them was like that one photo, and then the rest of it was inside with flashes. So if you like natural light, you want to make sure you have enough time after the ceremony if you're doing the traditional look to have those portraits. So that's one reason why. Okay. I think that's all of the reasons. So let's talk about the traditional way. People like traditions. There's nothing wrong with traditions. And people are used to things happening in a certain way. And some people get upset when you don't follow tradition. I know I've dealt with all types of arguments about traditional stuff with people, and I mean, older people get upset when you try and break their traditions, and you don't want grandma or mom or anyone else. Make sure this isn't anything important. Okay. Uh, Sorry, someone texted me. I want to make sure it wasn't anything important. You don't want to make those people upset. So sometimes following traditions will make them happy. Some people really like that big emotional buildup. I mean, I am not the type of person to enjoy that, but some people really want that, like, and then yay. Okay, so maybe some people really like that. I just realized my face is covering some of the words and stuff, so I will try my best. I don't know how to move it. I don't know how to move my face. Anyway, I'll just read it and you guys can kind of guess if you can't read it. So probably one of the biggest people argue is that they want to be there for that special moment, and they want to see that special moment. They don't want to see the leftovers, and that's what I think the mom was arguing with the daughter is they want to take part in seeing him freak out and seeing him cry and seeing that connection and that first experience with them, and they want the guests to experience it as well. So I understand that. I mean, if you do a first look, you may not have, which goes into the next point. If you do a first look, you may not have as emotional of a moment. That is the case sometimes. Okay, the photo here on the right that you're seeing of the guy crying, they did a first look. And guess what? He still cried. He still had that emotional reaction when she walked down the aisle. So it just kind of depends. I mean, sometimes it will get rid of the emotion and they won't have that reaction. But a lot of guys, if they're going to get emotional, they're going to get emotional twice anyway. So it doesn't really matter that much. Anyway, my big tip for you guys, if you are going the traditional route, please give your guests something to do until you show up. Oh my gosh, there's so many times I felt like a jerk because people are just sitting there waiting, and then all of a sudden we walk in and they're like glaring at me like, "Where have you been for the past hour and a half?" And I'm like, it's not my fault. I had to do this stuff. So I think I might actually make another video about that in a few weeks, but give your guests something to keep them entertained. Because when they're just sitting there doing nothing and they're hungry and they're bored, people are going to get upset. People are going to leave. They're going to get frustrated, whatever you want to say. All right. So we'll talk. I said I'll make another video about that at some point. Okay. So how do you make this decision whether to have a first look or be traditional? My first step in almost everything I tell people is talk to each other. I mean, it's your wedding. There are two people involved in this, so talk to each other and see if one person has a strong opinion one way or the other. Okay? I mean, if you're both like, we love first looks, or we both want to go traditional, then I think you're probably pretty close to an answer. Now, after that, you probably still should talk to your parents, talk to other people, just to see if they have an opinion. Just because you don't want to do it and then be upset because you didn't ask them or whatever. I would also talk to your photographer about it, because the photographer is going to have a lot to do with a first look, or just the way they schedule things, or they may know things about the lighting or the situation. They may just have opinions and thoughts. I mean, there's this one famous photographer who said he won't book couples unless they do a first look. I mean, I'm not that way, but I mean, some people have very strong opinions about it, and it's just one of those things where, you just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody's okay with it. So the photo below is kind of a compromise that you could possibly go about, and I've seen this done a few different ways. And so if you do want to go the traditional route, but you do want to interact some way before the ceremony, there are ways where you guys can interact without seeing each other. So this couple is holding hands around the door. They actually they exchanged letters and read letters. I've seen people hold hands and pray. I've even seen the groom get blindfolded once, and the bride came and sat beside him, and they talked for a while. So if it's a real big issue and you're fighting with the family members or whoever, and you can't decide, you can't always go the traditional way and then have these other moments that at least will kind of relieve some of the stress and still give you a chance to interact with each other beforehand. It won't give you all the benefits of a first look, but it's still something. Okay, I think I'm getting close to the end. If you have a question, I'm not seeing any comments or anything right now besides the original one. If you have an opinion, I would love to hear your opinion on this. Maybe I changed your mind about something. I don't know. So just comment, let me know whether this was helpful, whether you plan on doing a first look or if you plan on going traditional. Any experiences, maybe like, I don't know, you were in your best friend's wedding and they did this. And I'm just always open to hear what other people have to say and thoughts and experiences, just because, I don't know everything in the world. So if I hear something else, maybe I can share that information with someone else. Okay, I'm not seeing anything coming in. I'll wait. Oh yeah, so one other thing. So like I said, I went to a bridal show and I kind of threw this offer out there at the bridal show. So I decided I'd throw this offer out to you guys as well, and I did make a post about this earlier. So I am not pressuring anyone. I'm not trying to sell myself to anyone. I don't think I've maybe said like one thing about booking me before. So I'm not trying to pressure anyone into doing it. But if you had interest in booking me, or at least just getting information about what I offer, if you like my photos, if you think I'm an interesting guy, I don't know. I am, if you book before the end of February, I am throwing in a free photo booth, which is worth like $500, and photo booths are really cool. And if you're doing the traditional route, a photo booth is a great way to keep people entertained so they don't get really bored. Anyway, so before February, I'm only doing this for like 3 couples though, just because I can't do it. I can't do that many photo booths. It's just ridiculous. So if you're interested in that, comment or send me a message or email or whatever. Because again, I'm only doing 3 of them, and you're going to have to fight with all the brides that I met at the bridal show, and I'm also doing another bridal show in a week. So there's probably going to be a lot of competition for those 3 spots. But anyway, like I said, I like you guys. You guys have been interactive. You've been on this page. So if you're interested in one of those, or if you just want information, just let me know, reach out to me or whatever. All right, I am not seeing any more questions or comments or whatever. So I am going to say adios as soon as I can figure out how to do that. And you guys have a wonderful Thursday and a wonderful weekend. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. See you guys.